mental health problems have experienced abuse, which is another totally different topic that a lot of women go through. And by no doubt, a lot of men also go through it, but the numbers are quite high for the women's side. So these numbers are not just data points, they represent the lived experience of be it mothers, sisters, daughters, and each and every one of us. I'm sure if we were to do stats, data on us as well, some of us will fall into this space. So now let's dive into what stress is all about. Stress is our body's natural response to any demand or challenges, and is also referred to fight or flight reaction. And it's how our body, whether physical, emotional, mental, influences how we feel, how we react, and how we act on situations that occur in our lives, right? It has to do with our state of mental and emotional well-being. We had talked about that earlier, right? Whether it's negative or positive experience, it has a way of translating to how well we live our lives and how our well-being, our overall well-being is. Okay, so we have the three major types of stress. There are some sub types. However, we'll be looking at three major types. We'll look at the excuse me, we'll be looking at the acute stress, right? It's a form of stress that arises from events or situation that has occurred in our lives, whether like work, when you have a deadline to do a presentation, or you had to do some presentations with board meeting. And for let's say it's your first time doing that, you have never been in that situation. There's this kind of stress, your heart starts to beat. However, if you've done it for a period of time, I'm sure it's a no-brainer. You'll just be able to do it. So it's the stress that is not major, right? However, it does affect how we feel at that very moment, which can be very overwhelming, right? And then we have chronic stress. I'm sure we've all heard about it. It's the long-term stress, right? That persists with time. That is when you have your depression and all that. That's what leads to depression. So long-term stress is like the work pressure back to back. It's bad. You have a boss that is just not letting you have a breather, right? Or you have a friend that is very toxic, or you have a spouse, however it is, but it occurs for a longer period of time, unlike acute that is short, is momentary. Do you understand? And then relationship issues, I'm sure that we've all been there, done that at some point. And then financial challenges, right? Where you just don't know how to go about a situation, a financial situation, and then you're overwhelmed, anxiety kicks in. If you cannot see a way out, you tend to have, it might lead to depression, right? And if not addressed, also leads to like your heart disease and all that, panic attacks, where you now need to seek help, right? And then overall, really, it weakens your entire immune system. And research has shown that a lot of diseases, right, stem from chronic stress. So that's why when I remember there was a time that I kept having constant headache, and the first thing the doctor said to me is, "What has changed in your pattern? What had changed?" And that time I had just assumed a very top leadership position, and it became very overwhelming at some points and all that, and that was what changed. So there's a way to link it to even cancer at some points, as has been research has shown that some of the foundational stages stems from an issue, a mental health issue. And then you have your stress, which is literally our positive stress, right? Where you often respond to something that you perceive. You don't know how the outcome will be. Let's say, for instance, you get a new job in a new industry or in a new country. You're anxious. You don't know how the whole thing will go. You don't know whether or not your colleagues will like you. You don't know how that day will go. So it's more like being anxious for something, looking out for it. So it helps you just navigate life somewhat, right? So it's also that stress when you're preparing or planning a wedding. For some people, yes, they end up having high BP, but for some people, it's just chill, excitement and all that. It's a positive stress, right? Going on a vacation, yeah, you're thinking, oh, by the time I come back, I have to walk my ass off to be able to make up for all the monies, all the LV bags that I've bought and all that, right? So it's that kind of stress that helps us better, perform well. So I had mentioned board meeting. I'm sure if it was your first time going for a board meeting, you will give it your best. And whilst the deadline is coming, you're already very anxious that, oh, have I done a good work or not? Is that kind of stress when you're preparing for exam as well, right? And we all lived it from our early stage in life as children. So basically, that's what that is. And then we have how chronic stress manifests in our lives, right? So you have like your physical, your mental, and your emotional. So physical is when you have sleeping challenges, unable to digest food, or your digestion system is just not what it is. You tend to either have diarrhea or you're having constipation. And yes, trust me, that also stems from stress. So, or you have increased risks of heart disease. We all don't want that. Stress is, like we know, is what causes stroke to some extent, right? Um, and then you have constant headaches. Like what I tell colleagues or my staff is when they say they have a headache, go relax. And then I have like a checklist. Have you drunk water? Have you done this? What did you sleep well? What has been your sleep? So there's a way to go back to check what caused XYZ, right? Then you have your mental, we had talked about depression, anxiety, difficulties concentrating. There are other mental illnesses, but we're not going to deep dive into that because we're not, I assume everybody here is not mentally distressed, right? And I'm sure we all know the mental health language. So we don't say my mental health, my mental health. You have different stages of mental health challenges. So you say, oh my, I have a positive um, mental health. So you have a stage where there's no distress, then you have distress, then you have illness, mental illness. So you don't say, it's like saying physical health, oh my physical health, and what you have is headache, right? So and then we also have emotional, where you're irritable. And I'm sure a lot of us go through this, especially, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, especially the time of the month where, oh my days, you're just very irritable, right? Because a lot of things are going through your body is changing, right? You're very sensitive. right? Or you feel overwhelmed, or you're just not having it. So all those stages are more like somewhat how chronic stress builds up. Okay, so we will be identifying what stressors are, and then we will talk about the uniqueness of stressors in women, right? I'm sure we're going smoothly, right? The slide is moving.
Yes, yeah, it's perfect.
All right, great. Um, okay, so like we all know, there are different factors, right, that impact our mental health and our well-being that also leads to burnout. I try not to use the word burnout because it stems from being chronically stressed. It stems from stress, really. But like we've learned, it's a long progressive stress that turns to chronic stress, which also can be referred to burnout, right? So let's take it let's break it down. Mm? There's what we call mental load. I had talked about it, mentioned it, and I had said that we will talk about it. It refers to the um, invisible, how would I put it now? It's it's that stress, right? It's that load where you just cannot place what is causing that distress, right? Um, for some people, it could just be a tax that you're being given at work, maybe something that shouldn't be your tax and you were given, or even having to work all day and having to come back home for a new set of, oh, you have to do assignments for the kids, you have to do this, you have to plan for tomorrow, what they will eat, what they will wear, press their uniforms and all that. So that's where mental load comes in. Your head is full of so many activities on what to do. Is running 247, and to a large extent, especially mothers and wives, we all go through that side of things, right? You're planning, oh, you're in the kitchen, you're looking at spices that are running out, food is running out, things are just running through your mind 247. And unfortunately, I would say women have been empowered to be able to do that to a large extent, right? So we'll dive down to the second one, which is societal pressures. Societal pressures being how we feel the need to be able to conform to some situations, to some roles, to meet high expectations of what people or persons or situations expect of us, either by as parents or as individuals or as even professionals, or being a supportive partner, or even having to perform something that is required of you, right? To conform, like I said, to conform to a certain standard, right? This happens to a lot of people that either relocate to somewhere where you have your culture shock and everything, and then you're on a so take for instance, those who, you know how in Nigeria you can drive anyhow. It's quite open to any way of you how you can drive, right? But if you were to come to like a Canada or a UK where there's camera in your face, literally, you have to conform to the standards. Some people, I have an uncle that he doesn't like driving. He would rather take black cabs because every time he comes there, they're always finding him 247. So to him, he literally stopped that the money I used to pay fines, I might as well use it to enter black cab so that I don't get into trouble. So that's literally what societal pressure is, right? How easy or not to navigate all those um, standards, right? That you need to adhere to, or you need to just conform to. I think we have our hormonal fluctuations. I talked about the what's it called? Monthly things that we go through. But regardless of that, right? Hormonal fluctuations helps in playing a significant role to our mental health, right? So you have different stages. There's that, the one I mentioned. There's age, right? I can give you on and on back-to-back stories of how my body system started changing since I turned 30. I'm sure a lot of us, or a few of us, will be able to who can relate to what I'm talking about. So your hormones are changing as women regularly. And then you have that stage of life also where there's pregnancy, where there's postpartum, even before pregnancies, being a wife as well takes its own toll, right? So, and then you have another stage where by the time you turn, I don't know, is it from 40 or 45? For research has shown that now it's probably from 35 or even gradually less, where in terms of women are having early stage of menopause, right? So literally, it's how signif those significant changes that we have in our body and our minds, right? So take how every month your the stages in your body and in your mind just you I was recently telling a cousin of mine that, oh, I feel bloated. And then I looked at the app for my monthly stuff, and I saw that, oh, I'm coming on in 2 days. And sorry, I hope it's fine to share. And I was like, oh my God, now I understand why I feel bloated. You understand? Thank God for technology. I could now relate. I could now understand why my body was just not, it was not jiving with my mind. Do you understand? So that's literally all those shifts, all those hormonal shifts where you have mood swings or mood shifts, right? Your energy level is just not there. You're weak, or you can even be very active, right? So literally your overall well-being. And it's essential that we recognize all this. I just shared my own personal experience where it was when I recognized it, I understood that, okay, all right, so Eniola, calm down. It's because of this that your body, you're not understanding what's going on in your body. You understand? And then we also have gender bias and I would say somewhat discrimination, where it also impacts our mental health, right? Facing inequality, whether we like it or not, it really does happen. I'm in HR as well. I'm a HR consultant. But when it comes to my business, I don't tend to talk about that. So there is inequality. Most of us, as HR, we try to break that gap, and we are still doing it. God helping us. So yeah, so inequality in the workplace, in societies, right? Some people think they are more better than the other gender or whatnot and whatnot. I'm not gonna dive into that. For some women or for some ladies, they don't know how to take it, right? They're always in the defensive mode. That's where the flight or fight comes in. So your reaction changes, where your countenance changes, your self-esteem changes, your confidence changes. So I recall the position I had taken. I was literally the only female in leadership. And I had to recognize the fact that masculinity was smelling all around the board, all around the table. You understand? However, through emotional intelligence and some other things, you be able to navigate how to respond to situations, to conversations, even how to navigate those areas within the workplace or whatnot, right? And we have it in the society, even in general, to some extent. It depends on the country you are in. So these factors really, they're quite complex. I've tried as much as possible to give examples, and they can be interconnected in a way you would sense from the examples that I'd given, right? How the hormonal fluctuations affect how I relate with people and how I think about it was just in my head. What's wrong with my body and everything? What do I need to do? I started taking a lot of teas to reduce how I felt and everything, not knowing that it was just nature taking its course, right? So we'll go to the next one. And this will be an interactive one, right? So we tend to juggle a lot of things with our work-life balance, right? And research shows that 67% of women juggle work-life imbalance. I don't know if we all feel that is true or not. Um, but yes, that's what research shows. And research also shows that 45% of women in tech site work life balance as the biggest career challenge. And I would say this is true to some extent because you're always working, you're always troubleshooting issues and everything. And I think to a large extent it's almost all professions, right? To a large extent. It just depends on how well you can manage your time, and we'll be talking about that strategies to managing things, right? So my question now is on a scale of 1 to 5. Oh, I think I missed the last one. The pressure to be always on for both work and family also leads to burnout, also leads to chronic stress, also leads to mental workload, I mean, overload and all that. So the question now is on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your current work-life balance? So please share if there's anything in the chat, Judith. Please help me out. How would you rate it? One
I would
being the
say mine.
lowest, 5 being the
Okay.
highest.
Mine's a 3.5. I think I've grown to
Okay.
3.5.
So,
Yes.
okay. Anybody else?
For
We
me,
still have
hello.
time. Okay.
Okay, I said for me, yesterday I felt like I was at one, honestly.
Oh, why was that, if I may ask? Just yesterday. Why was that?
Yes, it was so hell of a day. Yeah, I was mentally stressed, emotionally all together. I had
No.
classes, I had family issues I was dealing with, and being the first daughter, and also my mom not being around, I had to be the one to solve the issue. So after classes, I was on call for over 5 hours. After that, I had to attend another meeting. And when I just came back, I just crashed and dozed off. I even forgot my other activities. I woke up by 1 a.m. and
Hmm.
remembering that I was supposed to somewhere, I just shouted. It
Okay.
was
Thank you so
terrible.
much for sharing. Thank you. But you know that that
That's
was just a one-off day. So I'm just saying that I think it was Eunice. I think I saw the name. So it was
yes,
just a
sir.
one-off day. Hmm? Is there anybody else? You can put it in the
There's
chat room if
Grace. Grace
okay.
says
Grace says,
four. Four. A four.
oh, brilliant. That's good. Any other? Let me see. What would I rate myself? Well, I'm on holiday now, so I'll rate myself a 5. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. Um, So there are 5 stages to burnout, right? So chronic stress, where you have your honeymoon stage. The first one is the honeymoon stage. You feel excited to go to work. You're still fine. Everything is going on well. Your sensories, you're committed, you're enthusiastic. It's like how you're newly married, right? Everything is gingering you. You're doing everything the other room back to back to back to back until reality kicks in and all that. So then you have the balancing act stage. As I'll use newlywed to move on with this scenario. Or okay, maybe not newlywed. Let's use having a new job. So we had talked about when it happens, you're anxious about, oh, I'm going to a new job. How will it be? Will people like me and all that? However, when you get there, you're excited, especially when HR takes you around and you've been introduced to everybody, and you know those first stage, everyone is smiley, giggly, hi, welcome to Mindspace, welcome, right? So that's more like the honeymoon stage. So the balancing act stage is okay. Now what continues? They've given you your JD, they've given you your KPI, right? You're trying to balance it all. So it's more like within a period of time, the excitement starts to fade away, right? Reality is kicking in, the workload is coming. Your KPI, you're having, or okay, no, yeah, your KPI, you're having to have sit downs with your reporting line, right? And you're at the back of your mind, within either 3 months or 6 months, you're gonna have a review, right? Your first review in 3 months, your probatory review in the next 6 months, right? The demand is in your head, right? The pressure kicks in, whether it's your personal life or not. So stress tends to start rising, right? And then you have the enmeshment stage. That stage is where the individual um, becomes increasingly entangled with work pressure. So now it's no longer your team that you're working with. You're working with XYZ departments, right? Everything tends to sit blurry. You're having back-to-back meetings, everything. You start to question, they're asking you questions within meetings. Is it that you're distracted or not, or you want to have the best word, you want to give your expert opinion in and everything. And then you have sorry, I don't think this was arranged properly. Then you have the chronic symptom where you have at this point, right? You're feeling fatigue, irritable, but not everybody gets to this stage, to be honest, right? However, when you get to this stage, your motivation starts to dwindle. Those are the times that you now start to calling sick, maybe once in a month or once in 3 months, or you want to just, that's when you remember, oh no, we talked about 3 days on, 1 day off kind of conversation. When things starts to change and you realize that you've been coming to work because of the pressure 5 days in a month. Those are the times too that you call in a friend and say, I need you, let us go out this weekend. Let me go relax, right? And then you have the crisis stage where your fatigue, your stress level is on the rise, is very high, both physically, emotionally, and you're at the verge of breaking down, right? So all these stages literally helps you to perform proactively, to be honest, to a larger extent. Not so let's say are the first three are somewhat good. They're what motivates you, they're what pushes you, they're what even makes you excel in our example of being at work. However, once you start to there are factors that affect you getting to the chronic stage or the crisis stage, right? And not everyone gets to that stage, to be honest. And like Eunice said, She was somewhat understated. It was overwhelming. However, it was just one day. It was a 1 day event. It doesn't mean today is like that. Today is obviously not like that because she has prioritized coming for this seminar. You understand? So it happens like that. However, our ability to withstand that situation, to be able to navigate, is what we're talking about here. Um, Also, we have internal and external stresses, and this is also going to be a conversational one. So stress can come from, sorry, outside factors like job demand, like we had rightly mentioned. It can come from even us being perfectionist. We as ladies, we tend to even put so much pressure on ourselves because you see how, sorry, I'm using you as an example, how you did explain you're the first, I don't know if it's the firstborn or first girl and everything. However, you can navigate such situations to be able to say, okay, what can I do part time? Can I even, what if I gave the first boy to be able to handle it? What will come out of it for now? Do you understand? So you can break down the tasks that you need to do and also assign other people. I don't know how many siblings you have. Assign them to XYZ. Do you understand? However, it might be because of the kind of person you are, either your personality or even your values that you have placed on yourself will is what um distinguishes you from the stressors that you end up perceiving, right? Some are internalized. You're the total cause of it, right? Some are external. Some you do not have control. So the difference now is those you have control on and those you do not. The internal one, you do have control over it. That's why I have an image of someone literally thinking like, okay, what do I do? I start thinking, what do I do? You have thoughts about situation. So you have the external external stressors, events. Yeah, I talked about that. Situations we feel face, internal stressors, how we react to the events. What is our mindset? How do we self-talk about such situations, which is what I had talked about. Do you need to jot something down? Do you need to assign someone? Do you even need to take a pause and just say, you know what, move the deadline if it's not going to be a do or die situation? And even at work, I always tell people, come back to me, go back to your boss and say, oh, for this reason, I might not be able to meet the deadline. Until you do that, you never know if your boss is going to say yes or no. And another thing I tell people is, what's the worst case scenario? You will have done your reasoning, right? Reflect on it. What's the worst case? You say, no, don't do, which was literally what you were trying to do. But now imagine when he says, okay, I give you 2 more days, which means whatever the situation was that you were unable to complete that task today, it means that you have an extension, 2 more days. However, you need to be self-aware of choosing the right management strategies. So with that being said, I want us to take a few seconds. I don't know if my time, I think I still have an hour or less. We will be wrapping up soon. So let's take like a minute to write down our top 3 stressors, internal or external. What is the top 3 stressors that we experience? Anybody?
Mm.
Judith?
Okay, Esther,
Unfortunately.
Esther says
Okay.
perfectionism. Perfectionism.
Okay. Top three, you just gave one.
Okay, Esther. Mm, I'm thinking about mine. Mm. Okay, so Esther says perfectionism, work, and family.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much,
Chris,
Esther, for sharing.
Christine,
So it
Christine
could be
says,
having to control things. Some people want to just control things. Having to overthink. For someone like me, I'm a critical thinker, and that's why I'm very good at strategy because and then I tend to do a lot of like process streamlining. I am quite good, and that's me thinking. So it depends on whatever you identify as part of the stresses. And in fact, when you think a lot, you still dissect the thinking that you're if that makes any sense. Judith, please
yes.
go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so Christine says work and financial demands.
Hmm. Okay.
Then for me, I would say major life changes.
Okay.
Overthinking, planning,
Mhm.
perfecting things. Yes.
Okay. Any other person before we move on?
Goodness, perfectionism, work, and major life changes. Mm.
Okay. Thank you all so much for sharing. Um, so I have like a framework that I talked about, that put up for how stress management could, how you can navigate, right? Tackling stress. And I had used my sister earlier, right? Of how she can break down some things. So the first one is avoid unnecessary stress, right? Flee from it, avoid, eliminate it. And how do you do it? You say no. Or you say, can we do it next week? If it is not urgent, please. Even as professionals, someone sends you an email. You don't have, or an email that didn't go well with you. You don't have to respond. You don't, and I tell people, you don't even have to ever respond till the person brings it up and says, oh, I didn't get your response. If need be, if the person has, or you don't even have to respond at that spot. You can go have a break, take a walk, simmer down, and come back to the email. With that, you've been able to think about, you've been able to process it. You didn't react to whatever the person had said or whatever the situation is, right? So learn to say no, right? This could mean distracting yourself, like I said, from people, stress, even as spouse. Sometimes you just go to go to the restroom, play a game on your phone. Let them know whether it does not matter whether it's number one, two, or three that you're doing. Like I tell people, I've gone to visit Obama. Me and Obama were having a chat. However, whatever works for you, you do. You have to be intentional because people really don't think about. I know, sorry, but I will talk about the Bible a bit. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. Not everybody loves themselves. And I tell people that. Who has to love themselves? Love yourself first, really. If you love yourself truly, you will love the other person, but not everybody thinks about you first. So why don't you say no? Even at work, you can suggest and say, oh, but boss, I have you mentioned the name the all the numbers of tasks that you have. And then you say, oh, can you might not say give it to Eniola. You might say, can Eniola assist me, please? And once your boss says yes, there's no way Eniola will not assist you because your boss will probably ask at the end of and say, oh, was it a joint effort or an even individual effort? And because there's appraisal at the end of so Eniola would have to help out, right? Secondly, alter the situation. I had somewhat talked about this, right? It clearly involves communicating what your need is clearly. Hmm? Find a compromising. I just literally gave an example as well. Compromise. If this does not work, this will work. If we don't have the meeting today, nobody's going to die. You. Honestly. The worst case scenario is, I don't know, no example comes to mind now. Okay, well with the project, even if it's a client's project, sometimes you can reach out, and that's why you have client management, relationship managers. They can go back to the client and give an example, a reason, and your clients will definitely say yes. Only if need be and they can't move it. Maybe their chairman is going to be at the meeting or something. And really, depending on the reason you give, the person can say, okay, you know what, I'll reach out to my chairman or reach out to the PA, and the PA. So it's emotional intelligence. I'm giving the situations because that's those are situations that people have come to me. You can't meet PA. PA will look for work to give chairman. The chairman will say, cancel the meeting. It's possible. It is possible, right? But if you don't try, you just overwhelm yourself. And that's why I tell you can't be that busy to a large extent. Yes, you are busy, but you can't be that busy that you cannot avoid, you cannot alter. So let's talk about adapt now. Adapt to the stressor. If you cannot change it, situation, change how you react, right? So your boss tends to always give you the work because they know, there's nothing you give in your ladder that you wouldn't excel in. And because you're a high performing individual, they tend to give you all the work until you adapt to it. You've adapted. But once you start to alter and avoid, they will try not to bring it to you anymore, right? So you can adapt to I mean, sorry, you should not adapt to the situation. You should change how you react. You can react with grace because yes, you know you will perform. However, I need assistance, please. Can Eniola assist me? Because I have so many projects on my table, depending on what your position is, what your work is, right? This is how you reframe your mindset. Then finally, you have acceptance, right? Things you cannot change. The reality is you cannot fix everything. You're not Jesus. We ended up killing him. You're not, right? Even God had to send Jesus and say, you know what? Because I'm tired of fixing and 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 fixing. Let me just get one person that will just fix it all. We are not him. Mm-mm. We are not El Shaddai. If not, you will die. Right? So you have to accept that and be at peace. If you cannot go there, don't go. If you cannot make that meeting, don't make the meeting. What is the always tend to do what I call what's the worst case scenario? What will happen? Right? But if what will happen is greater than what you want to happen, please don't do. If they are going to sack you, don't only if you're totally tired. Why not? Sometimes you can, sorry, excuse my friend, bullshit the bullshitter. Yes, and it will be in their face. However, if that is not the case, please don't. Okay, so now we will dive into strategies of how to, right? Time management. Poor time management is what causes huge stress to a lot of people. So instead of just doing a to-do list, try and prioritize the tasks, right? There's what you call Heisenhower matrix, right? Urgent or important. Dissect it. Is it urgent or is it important? Choose. By the time you do that, you realize that maybe it's only one thing that is important, and it's one thing out of 10 that is urgent. The rest can be moved, right? This will help you to be able to truly understand really what you should do and what not to do per time, right? Time blocking, move it, move it if you can. It helps you to prevent being constantly on the rush, always rushing. My children need to go to school, and your neighbor has a child that is going to the same school. Alternate. Oh, why don't we? Because you're busy. If your neighbor truly is a good person, obviously. Oh, why don't you drop them off in the morning? I'm a bit flexible in the afternoon. I'll go pick them up. You understand? Look for alternatives. Don't think you have a superpower on doing everything at rush. Some people thrive in that, and those are the people that tend to burn out easily, right? Don't underestimate simple power of routine, which is the example I gave, right? It really truly helps. And then the power of saying no, I talked about it, right? It's very important as women to say no, even as caregivers or people pleasers. We tend to please people and we tend to just forget ourselves. You just say yes, 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 yes to everything. You now put yourself under mental load. Everything is in your head. You don't know how to call them and say, look, I cannot do this. Right? Learning to say no is setting boundaries, protecting your peace, protecting your energy, protecting your time. It is very important, right? Recognizing your limits. You're not, what do you call it? Supergirl. Protect your well-being is very important. And when I say protect, that doesn't mean everything you do, you now start saying, oh, I want to protect myself, self-care. No, it is when you know that, look, I will be unable to do this in a gracious, glorious way. Just say, oh, I'm sorry, maybe not this time. Or I can do this rather than this. Or why don't you get this person to do it and I will do this? Which comes to the previous one that I talked about, the 4 A's. You pick which works for you, or you can even rotate it. You can avoid today, adapt tomorrow. You understand? However works for you. However, if you don't know about this, it becomes very tricky, right? So mindfulness and meditation, it helps to reduce anxiety, right? And all those things running through your mind. It helps to protect your peace, right? You focus on your breathing, especially when you have, I know people like cancer where they're not happy where they are. However, they're there when they call them there, their heart is palpitating, anxiety has kicked in, right? When you feel overwhelmed, always at the edge of an overwhelming state, right? There are a lot of practices you can do. Just meditate, do guided meditation. There are quite a number of apps that can help with this. And if you know you're in that situation, you can try to check out those apps to be able to help you. Or you don't even, to a large extent, you might not need an app. You might just do a breathing exercise, right? So you have the body-mind connection. Food, very important. Drinking water, doing exercises. Your nutrition is also very important. We cannot separate mental health with physical health, not at all, right? Exercising is one of the most effective ways, excuse me, to combat stress, right? And to release that dopamine that helps, the feel-good chemicals that help. That's what dopamine, yeah, sorry, endorphin, sorry. helps, right? The feel good, they're called feel good chemicals. They give you that, yay, I'm in a good vibe, right? Eat well, eating well food. And if it's junk you want to eat it if it helps you. However, don't overeat it. Let's not talk about body image and everything and gaining weight and all that. But if you need to, there are days that all I'm craving is junk food. And I eat it and I know I have eaten it. I may not eat it in the next 3 months or even a year. Do you understand? However, just please yourself at that moment when you feel exhaustion, right? However, you need to control yourself if that is always the state that you are in. And then hydrate. Drinking water is very important. Another very important one is sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. Oh my days, it's not. It is biologically necessary, a very necessary part of being human. We all know how God formed women. He put what? Adam to a deep sleep, deep, deep sleep, right? So when we feel sleep deprived, our emotions and regulations are what suffers first. Yeah, cranky, yeah, irritable. It has nothing to do with the time of the month. You have not slept. You have not slept. So if you fall in that situation, there are tips for you to be able to sleep. I struggle with sleep a lot, but now I would say I've been able to navigate it. And there are plants, there are oils, there are candles, there are routines, there are lights, there are sounds that can help you to be able to create that sanctuary for you to have a good sleep. And then there are things that you call power sleep. Apparently, that is what I have. So I can sleep 2 hours and I'm fine to, I'm good to go for the day. But not everybody. Well, some people are graced with sleeping all my days. Once they land anywhere that is quiet like this, they are gone. Chair, bed, toilet seat. I'm really kidding. But yes, some people are graced with it. However, if you're not as graced with that, like me, you just need to be able to, I had to seek um, a professional to that because there were days I could go on without sleep. But when I was able to navigate, I understood the kind of sleeping pattern I was, and I was able to wind down my sleep routine, right? And to be able to understand my body. So, building resilience is where we'll be going to resilience, right? Is an innate it's a part of us. I know we all hear the word resilience, 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 but it is us literally. I think what I normally tell people is they should call when they define women is resilience because where we get that energy and the strength from, it's not us. We're so able to bounce back. I look at the challenges that women face in pregnancy and all and next thing they are pregnant again. And I'm like, how do you do it? We're able to bounce back. God has given us that gift to be able to just to be able to navigate tough times. However, you're not El Shaddai, like I said, right? So whatever it takes for you to not break down, avoid it, right? Avoid it. Sorry, I was taking a breath. Avoid it. Set processes to things, right? You can learn because really we're not born with it. It's not every woman has that resilience, that I talked about. Not everybody. Some women we know they don't even want to give birth. Does not mean they're not resilient, but in that regard, they are not. They're not so interested in it, right? So resilience is just our ability to be able to withstand, to adapt, and recover from adversity and stress. That's it. It's a skill that we develop. Well, nobody was born with it. You develop it. Then you have cultivating a growth mindset, a very key component of resilience, growth mindset. It is literally that belief that you can develop your abilities through dedication, devotion, persistence, and hard work. When you face setbacks, instead of seeing it as any negative things, you're procrastinating, you're devaluing yourself, you're reflecting on your self-worth. See it as a way of growth. See it as a way of growth. It's literally a simple shift of perspective, right? It's more like positive. So that's the side of positive psychology. You think about the positive things rather than the negative things, right? It's it's like a perception transformation, right? Of how you experience challenges, how you frame your situations, you reframe it, right? That's why I'd given examples here. It's fixed mindset, growth mindset, strategy, reframe failure. It is not failure. There's a learning opportunity there. Ask, what did I learn from this? Instead of saying, why did I fail? Then the power of support system, and I'm sure that's what we ladies have here in this association, in this group, right? Seek help. Help is health. Health is priority. We're all meant to go through life as a connective being, not as an individual. And I go back to Adam. That's why God created Eve, not for really, he did say multiply, but it was for companionship, right? Through life struggles, not doing it alone. That's why there's family connection. That's why there's associations. That's why there is church. That is why there is school. Every facet of life, there's a connection. No man is an island. And research shows that when you have a strong connection, it's an antidote for stress. It reduces stress to a large extent. And that's why guys have it more than ladies. We ladies were not so together because we have 1,001 things to do. But for guys, right, they're playing ball, they're doing this, even fathers, right? We ladies, we always think that we cannot just stress, we cannot enjoy life. But no, but once you have that, if there's anybody that enjoys life the most, my sister, she. Once he has, yes, work comes, but when work is done, like he's going on holiday to this, to relax, to rejuvenate. How many of us do that? That we need to ask ourselves after a long day. My sister that shared, after a long day today, what have you done? You do a cup of coffee, you relax, watch, yes, Netflix and chill. And if he's reading a book that you need to do, why not? If you need to put the kids, if you have kids, if you need to put them somewhere, or just put them on timeout. My cousin will tell you, be upstairs. None of you should come downstairs. That's her timeout. So are we able to do that? We need to ask ourselves that. Then self-compassion, absolutely very important. I know I touched on it. Treat yourself with kindness and love. Understanding you would offer a good friend. Yes, too often we are very harsh to ourselves. And it's just because of the pressure we put on ourselves, I think. So turn that critiquing voice in our head to a more supportive one. I am beautiful. Not, I'm able to do it. this promotion, this new position in my office, I will go for it because literally I am doing it. Why do you think they should give it to Bookie when they can give it to you? Right? Give it your best shot. Treat yourself like you would a best friend. And if you don't have a best friend, why not treat yourself the way you would? You should, you ought to. It's not about making excuses. Absolutely, it's not. It's not. It's about understanding, acknowledging your humanity, right? Offering yourself grace and putting yourself together. Understanding that you're not alone. You cannot do it yourself. So I know we will do this practice later where you put your hands, okay, or we can do it now. So we can put your hands around yourself and say, this is a moment. This is a moment of challenge. Challenges are a part of life. May I be kind to myself in this life moment. Take a breather. It goes a long way, right? And then we need to break the stigma around mental health. Seek help when you need to, right? But every time we open conversation that has to do with this, everybody tends to say, oh, mental health, mental health. I don't know if that's why not a lot of people are here, but like it's it cannot be overemphasized. The little I remember when we started our meetups, there was a lady that said, no, she has never ever had a mental health challenge. Never. And when she feels down like this, she'll just start kabashing. And when the speaker was speaking, I think we're talking about postpartum depression. And next thing we just saw her crying. Hey, what happened? What did we do to you? And she was like, oh my God. She just came to the realization that that's what she struggled with when she had her first child. She could not pinpoint what it was, right? But at first, the way she was talking, she was quite destructive at first. Oh, never. Never. She just came to support me. She was a neighbor. She just came to support Mindsplace. It was at the early stage of Mindsplace. And it was like a turning point for her. She gave great remarks. In fact, she was one of our word of mouth for her was like constant, right? Reach out to people to seek help. Help is hope. That's what I see. If you go to my Instagram page, we just finished this a 3 week session saying help is hope. Is hope. Hope for tomorrow. We all need help. No man is an island, right? For self-preservation, for courage building, for rebuilding your strength. And if you're not able to seek help from there, you seek professional help. That's why organizations like Mindspace exist. Seek professional help for you to be able to navigate life happenings, life challenges. I know people that just come for one sessions and they're fine. Some people you might need other sessions and it's okay. I'm sure if you have a headache, you don't take paracetamol for once sometimes, right? So it's very important that we seek help when we need to. Help when it's long term, it's been happening back to back, and you do not know why, you do not know how to navigate it. So like I say, information is literally only powerful when we act on it, right? I want to challenge each and every one of us to take actionable small steps to acknowledging our wellness, right? Create a wellness goal for this week and let's see how it takes. Schedule a 15-minute time to yourself each day. You can take a walk, practice a 5 minutes mindfulness breathing exercise, reach out to someone. I don't know how close you all are here, but reach out to someone. I'm sure each and every one of us have that particular person that we reach out to, if it's maybe a spiritual challenge, emotional challenge, relationship challenge, financial challenge. Reach out. You never know the outcome of it, but if you don't reach out, you will never still know, right? And always say no. Saying no is very essential. When you cannot do anything, that's why it says here, say no to non-essential requests. It's not a do or die affair, right? So as we wrap up, let's ensure that we know that our mental health is just as important as our physical health, if not more, if not more. But it just is. We need to also acknowledge the pressures that we face as women, as mothers, as sisters, as daughters, is at that every stage of life, right? And then men get upset when they see their Mother's Day 3 or 4 times of two times in a year. There's Women's Day, there's Mother's Day. Yeah, because we have to be celebrated all the time. However, Mother's Day is every day. Women's Day is every day for you. Manage your time well, right? Be mindful of your environment, of what you say to yourself, what's going on with yourself. Cultivate resilience, build on strength. You can take from other people, but don't zap the living day life out of them, right? Be kind to yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help. And like I tell people, you're not alone. In every sphere of life, you're not alone. So I don't know if we have time. Trying to see what the time is. I think it's 2 hours, right? That we're meant to do
Yes,
this.
yes.
Okay, so we can take a breathing exercise. Sorry, there was something that was meant to be moving, but I wasn't able to get that up. So we can take a breathing exercise if everybody doesn't mind. It's just for, let me see, what's the time? Is 10:37 my time. So we'll do like a 3 minutes so that we can take questions. So find a very comfortable place. I don't know where we are, but I want to believe that we're in a comfortable place, right? Right. If you need to stand, sit, just make sure that you're comfortable. Mm? Relax your back, adjust your strap, like how I have just done that. However, just relax. Put your hand in a very comfortable way, either by your side or by your laps, or on your laps, right? Then close your eyes. I hope we can hear me. So you close your eyes, and you close your eyes because of any distractions. Close your eyes. But for some people, not everybody knows how to close their eyes. You can just gaze on something. Just set your eye on one thing, maybe an art in front of you. Put off your TV if your TV is on. Just take away anything that might be distracting you. And then slowly inhale. Inhale with your nose. Inhale. And inside your mind, just count 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly expand as you breathe in. Hold that breath for another 4 seconds. Stay calm and relaxed. Exhale and let's go. Feel your body release every tension that you might be feeling. Right? So we're gonna do this 5 times. right? So breathing. And when you breathe in, say, I am calm, focused, and capable. Now breathe out. Whatever word of affirmation comes to mind, you say it. I live in this moment, whatever comes to mind. Now breathe in. I am calm, focused, and capable. Breathe out. Now breathe in. I am calm, focused, and capable. Now breathe out. So one last time, breathe in. I am calm, focused, and capable. Now breathe out. So open your eyes slowly, slowly. Take a moment to just feel the center of where you are. Just feel. And that will be all. So you can do this for 5 minutes when you feel anxious or you feel stressed at the end of a day or even within the at work. Just go to a relaxing place and do a breathing exercise. So we're going to take this affirmation that I have written. So you can just repeat after me or you can read it. It's on the screen and I'm sure we can all see it. I am the architect of my energy. I choose to build a life of balance, strength, and joy. With every breath, I release pressure and welcome calm. I honor my worth by prioritizing self-care, setting boundaries, and embracing imperfection. I trust that progress, not perfection, is my path to success. In every moment, I choose presence over pressure. And I celebrate my resilience in life. In my life, sorry, that's a mistake. In my life, no matter the challenge, with grace and confidence. Thank you all so much. We have come to the end of today's session. Judith, over
Oh,
to you.
wow. Wow. I'm still basking in the the breathing exercise. I really needed that today. Wow, this has been a very rich and eye-opening session for me, and I believe for everyone else who has been here because we've had like a steady people haven't really been leaving the session, so they've been here all through. So I know that they were held bound to what you were talking about. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. And wow, I have questions, but I want to open the floor for everyone to ask their questions. Or we have people already saying thank you. Everyone is clapping and saying thank you in the chats. So please, if you have any questions, you can ask your questions now. I'll start. I'll start. Like I have. So when you were talking, so many things you talked about really resonated with me,
Okay.
and especially when it comes to sharing your challenges with friends. You could go to your friend and say, "Oh, I feel mentally stressed," and immediately they're looking at you like, "Oh, don't say that, Jesus! Don't say that in Jesus' name. You are healthy. You are okay. And you are told to speak positively instead. But all you just need is just for someone to listen to you, right? I understand that you actually need to talk to somebody and you actually stressed. So, and In such situations, when your go-to person isn't someone who actually can give you that kind of support, do you understand?
Mhm.
What do you advise to such a person to do?
Does that person need to be your go-to person? It just means that that's not your go-to person for that situation.
Hmm.
That's just what it means. It just means that's not that, or you can alternatively, you can bring such persons to conversations like this where they can be enlightened as to the situation you're going through. If that is, let's say, when you say the go-to person, I want to believe maybe your best friend or something. But like I mentioned, you have friends for different situations. So it means that that is not your go-to person for such a situation. So it's
Hmm.
best to reach out to someone else that will be able to understand what you're going through.
Hmm. Okay, thank you very much. I have a question from Esther here in the comment section. She says, there are some urgent situations you can't avoid. How do you handle that without undergoing stress or feeling overwhelmed later on, especially for overthinkers?
Okay, so that's where the framework I had talked about comes in, right? The four A's for stress management. So is this something you can avoid? Is this something you can eliminate? Is this something you can alter? There's no way it is not in one situation or not. The stress is, even if it's even a pregnancy, you have to carry the pregnancy to, so it's not something you can avoid, right? You have to adapt to the situation. So with adaptation, it just means that you're able to change the way you react to such situation. So you have to pick one in such situation or look for which one fits best, right? So it all depends on how much control you have over it. So in such situation, you might just need to accept it, however, change the way you react to the stressor, right? And the way you change it might be through the avoidance, right? Or through alternative means of the situation. I hope that helps because I don't know what exactly the stressor is.
Okay, thank you
Can
very
you hear me?
much. Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you, I think.
Okay.
I
I
I I
hope
have
that answers her
yeah,
question.
she says yes, it does.
Okay.
So I have a question. Um, what if is it possible for your stressor to be a person? Is it possible to have a person
Absolutely.
as your
Yes.
yeah, so someone
Your
shows up
your
and you're
your
stressed.
someone can be the person that triggers stress for you. Why not? Yes.
So
It
how do you
can
handle
can be
a
a
person as
situation.
your stressor? Yes.
Do you want to give me
As
an
in
example? It can
so
be
for
your spouse now. You
example,
cannot avoid your
your
spouse.
boss. Maybe your direct supervisor at work is your stressor, so and has the
Okay,
power to
so
change your life.
if if it's your boss, it's so that's what I don't know if I can share the screen again. If it's your boss, it's still look for how you cannot avoid your boss, right? It's not an unnecessary stress because you need the job, right? So you look at it, is this something I can adapt, right? And I keep going to adapt because adapt just means you have to adapt to the situation. You need your work, you need your boss. So the only thing you can change is the way you react to how it is. So I'll give you an instance, right? At my early stage of my career, where I had worked, I had a reporting line that was actually, to a large extent, it was not my reporting line, but it was my senior, right? And he was always very undermining. There's nothing I did that was good enough and whatnot, whatnot. And because I saw that he was really very controlling about everything, I gave him more than enough things to control. I didn't have a problem. At first, I had a problem. And the thing that changed my mindset was when the head of department saw one of my work and she didn't have a single correction to it and gave me thumbs up. That was when I knew that okay, it was not me, it was him, right? And afterwards, in everything I needed to do, I tend to just rub his ego by telling him, okay, you know what, can you guide me on how to go about it? And because of that, he was fine with it. And he appreciated that I came to him beforehand and everything. And as time went on, his perception started changing, right? And once I come to him, he'll be like, but Annie, we've done this before. Don't worry, go and do it. Then show me. You understand? So I
Yeah.
changed the way I reacted to his frustration. So there's a way that is your boss. You need to understand what makes him tick, what he likes, what his dislike is. And once you're able to navigate that, you would be able to easily change the way you react. And that helps. With that, in fact, me and that particular person I'm talking about, till even when I left the organization, till date, we're still good friends. Do you understand? So to a large extent, you need to change. You would have to change the way you react. And you have the control.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think
Just
that's been a
reframing your
very
mindset. Hmm.
insightful response. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Eniola. Please, do you have any questions, sisters? Please feel free to drop your questions in the comment section. We have a few more minutes before we wrap up today's seminar. Okay, I think if we don't have any more questions just yet, so I would really appreciate you on behalf of everyone here. I want to say thank you very much. I know
Thank you.
this is like it's like gold delivered at our doorstep. So I really can't like words can't describe how grateful we are for this session. So thank you very much. And for also helping us with making everything interactive, quizzing us. That helped keep us engaged throughout the entire session. Thank you very much for all of
Thank you.
that.
Thank you
I
for having me. To have yourself a lovely day, ladies.
Yes, before you go, if you don't
Thank you
mind, I would like
so much.
to invite our president to just give a word. Um,
Oh, why not? Please.
Sister Jennifer. Yeah, I think she's probably currently occupied. Sister Jennifer, I was hoping we could also take a group photo. It's you. um, Before we wrap up.
That's fine. I believe my video is still on, right?
Yes, yes. So, sisters, please can we turn on our cameras? Let's take one.
They may not be in the state of turning on the camera.
We have a way we do it.
Okay, hello, ladies. Thank you.
Okay. We're
Okay.
taking it in a few minutes, in 1 minute.
Hello.
Right. 3, 2, 1, cheese.
Mm.
Wait, one more time. Just a minute. Just drop this. Okay, just one more. Cheese. Oh, beautiful.
All right. Please share with me.
All right, I will. Sister Jennifer, please. I was if you have a few words to say to
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eniola. In fact, my notes are full. For context, I was the one that answered 7, and even while you said 7, and to be honest, it's a 7 for me. My life is crazy at the moment. I'm a mom of 4 boys, currently juggling full-time work, running a social impact, leading PCDF as the president, trying to be there for everybody, and it's been crazy. So, but to be honest, I learned a lot, and in fact, our WhatsApp group is buzzing, and I'm sure everybody has really learned a thing or two. It's really needed. Thank you so much for pouring out your heart. Thank you so much for the gems you dropped.
Pleasure.
We sincerely appreciate you. Can't thank you enough. And for my sisters, I know it's time to put in the work. You made a statement that struck with me. You said that you are sure, and when you were speaking about sports system, you said you were sure that it's why such a group like ours exists. And that's truly what we want to be to each and every one of us. We call ourselves sisters, and we want to be there for each other as a strong support system for one another. So thank you once again for pouring out your hearts to us. We sincerely
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having
And
me.
for me, it's 100. It's 100. I'm sure my sisters agree too. Thank you.
Please go and share all that you liked on LinkedIn, and you can
Oh,
tag
we're going to be
me. That's
tagging
fine.
you. We're going to be
Yes,
tagging you,
definitely.
even with the official page.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right. Thank you very
you.
Enjoy
much.
the rest of your day, ladies. Bye.
You
Thank you,
Bye.
too.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Yes,
Thank you very
ma'am.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, sisters. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Stop recording.